and welcome to another Random Seeders video. I'm sorry it's been so long since I've talked about anything random, and I also apologise if the last few videos were all about Star Wars, which is hardly random, it must be said. But now I am steering the channel back into more random waters with a new topic, and that topic is football, specifically my, I guess you could say, love of Manchester United. So, where to even begin? Well, first of all, let's get one thing out of the way. I am from Manchester. I was born in Manchester, albeit on the blue side of Manchester, but the less said about that, the better. I'm from Manchester. My mother's side of the family is from Eccles, which is on the red side. And so I basically get my love of Manchester United. And there's kind of an asterisk on the word love, as I will explain later. I get my love of United from basically my late mother and her brother, my uncle, who used to go and watch United in the days of Dennis Law, Bobby Charlton and Georgie Best. So I've basically inherited my love of United from that side of the family. When I was little, I didn't really have an interest in football full stop until I was about 14 or 15 years old, and I think that was partly due to the fact, well, I had a less than ordinary upbringing, as many of you will know, but I also wasn't the most athletic of children, and when the kids were playing football at school, I just wasn't able to keep up with them and found the whole thing very tedious, and I frankly hated anything to do with sport at school. It was only once I'd reached about 14 or 15 years old and I'd shed some of my childhood weight, I was actually becoming quite tall and gangly, that something just clicked and I just suddenly started liking football. And I noticed that if there was ever a team on the television that Mum was watching, along with my sister, because my sister fancied some of the United players, it was Man United. So it was only natural that I would take an interest in that team rather than any other. And take an interest I did, to the point where I was buying every single issue of the Manchester United Club magazine. I was obsessive over who the different players were, what squad numbers they wore. I still to this day have a fairly good knowledge of who wears what number for the current team. So I was interested from kind of a nerd angle, but I also really just enjoyed the game itself. Obviously, there were things about my life that were less than desirable, and I found football, among other things, to be a good form of escapism. When I was on the football pitch with my friends or with people from my local community, just whoever it was I was playing football with, I just found it a totally immersive experience to be on a field with one single objective, which was to get the ball in the net with the aid of my teammates. It was just such a wonderful experience, and to this day, even though I'm now 40, I still enjoy from time to time going across the road to where there's a local playground. And the local lads know me well. They're all much younger than I am and much fitter than I am, but they're very kind in letting me take part. And I just so much enjoy that whole experience of everything else in your life completely vanishing into the background, becoming irrelevant, and you've just got one task. And it's actually a very good form of exercise, I find, as well, because I hate the idea of just going off and running for the sake of running or jogging for the sake of jogging. I know some people really enjoy it. I find it intensely boring. But when I'm playing football, I run and I don't even know it. You know, I'm so obsessed with getting to the ball that it doesn't matter that I'm completely and utterly knackered. I could go on playing long after the point where my body's already started giving up, because the game matters so much to me. And so when I do play football, especially if I play for, let's say, over an hour, maybe into 2 hours, which isn't unheard of during the summer months when there's lots of football being played, I end up being virtually useless the next day. But it's just such great fun. But going back to United, again, some of my most pleasant memories from an otherwise abnormal upbringing were of enjoying football, enjoying watching United on the telly with my mum. And one of my absolute fondest memories of watching a game of football on the television was watching the 1999 Champions League final, Manchester United against Bayern Munich. Obviously, if you know about the final, you don't need me to describe what happened, but it looked very much as though Manchester United were beaten. They were 1-0 down right up until the dying moments of the game. And then a substitute, Teddy Sheringham, equalised, and very soon after that, another player, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, scored a second, and out of nowhere, Man United emerged the winners of a game it looked like they'd lost.
Michael, it's come for Dwight York. Cleared, Giggs with a shot, Sheringham! Name on the trophy. Teddy Sheringham, with 30 seconds of added time play, has equalised for Manchester United. They are still in the European Cup. Beckham into Sheringham, and Solskjaer has won it! Manchester United have reached the promised land. Ole Solskjaer, the two substitutes, have scored the 2 goals in stoppage time.
Just the whole experience of watching the game, the elation of a last-minute victory against all odds. I think Alec Ferguson famously said, "Football, bloody hell," at the end of it. And observing that whole experience with my mother, it was just a lovely... It kind of crystallised, in a way, my love affair with Manchester United, that whole experience of watching that event with my mum. Obviously, she died a couple of years later, but that was one of my most enjoyable moments with her. And my affection for Manchester United has continued, even though I'm not completely sure why. Because I've got other things to be thinking about, quite frankly. And whenever I contemplate my feelings about football, it just doesn't make any sense. Why should I be so bothered about the successes of a team in Manchester that couldn't care less about me as an individual? And they will continue to do their thing, whether it's victory, whether it's defeat, whether it's mid-table mediocrity. History will unfold, irrespective of my feelings. So it's very odd that I should get so emotional when I'm watching a game of football, to the point where if my team loses, and United have been doing a lot of losing over the last 2 or 3 years, if my team loses, it actually affects my mood. So that, let's say that I'm watching the football in an evening, I'll go to bed and I'm in quite a bad mood because my team's lost. If, on the other hand, United wins, especially if they've won in a convincing way and played very good football, I go to bed elated. It shouldn't have that much of an effect on my emotions. I mean, let alone how I react when United score a goal. There's just this instant wave of elation. It doesn't make any sense at all. I'd love to know the psychology around it, because, again, I've got more important things to be thinking about in life. It's just a team kicking around a ball. How does it have such a grip on my emotions? Anyway, I don't consider myself the most orthodox of Man United fans, because an orthodox... Well, first of all, I'm not that fond of orthodox Man United fans, because I actually find them quite irritating. They seem to be obsessed with instant success, instant gratification from the team, and if things aren't going their way all the time, they blame it all on the manager. I can remember being in a pub in 2005, I think, when United were knocked out of the Champions League, and there were United fans in the pub saying that Fergie should resign. Can you imagine what would have happened if Fergie had resigned in 2005? They wouldn't have gone on to win the Champions League in 2008 and a whole bunch of other league titles. So Man United fans, I actually tend to find extremely irritating, even though I am one. But an orthodox Man United fan craves the downfall of Liverpool in particular with passion, and can't stand the notion of Liverpool being successful, which it is at the moment. So the current Liverpool team is arguably, well, it isn't arguably, it is the finest team in Europe. I mean, they won the Champions League last season, and they have a squad jam-packed with talent and a superb manager. And they are on course to very convincingly win their first league title in decades this season. That's just the worst nightmare of your typical Man United fan. They want Liverpool in the dirt. And that's not how I feel. Sure, I was born in Manchester, but more than anything, I'm from the Northwest, and I'm happy to see Northwest teams doing well. And I think that United fans should be careful what they wish for, because if a team like Liverpool, which up until, you could argue, the late 80s, early 90s, was an unstoppable force in British football, if a team like Liverpool can just completely collapse and never re-emerge as a force to be reckoned with, then exactly the same thing can happen to Manchester United. So United fans should be glad, in a way, that Liverpool is successful again, because if a team like Liverpool can never be successful at all again, even after decades, then exactly the same thing can happen to Man United. I like to think that despite the current dip that's basically lasted ever since Alex Ferguson stepped down, I like to think the current dip will end eventually. Will Ole Gunnar Solskjaer change things around? I'm not convinced, but I think that the problems at Man United are deeper than simply the players and the manager. I think that there are quite a few problems behind the scenes with the way the whole club is run at the moment, and maybe they can be successful despite that. Who knows? All I know is that whether they're doing well or doing badly, I'm basically hitched to them for life. Even though it's maddening, even though I hate the fact that they have such a powerful influence on my mood, despite, again, them not giving two hoots what's going on in my life. They literally have the ability to make me depressed. That's how bad it is. Yeah, even though they have this influence, I'm still going to support them till my dying breath, I'm afraid. So those are my thoughts on football generally and Manchester United in particular. Who knows, maybe I will revisit this particular subject in a future Random Seeders video if it's appropriate, maybe if United wins something. But I've exhausted my thoughts and feelings on this subject, and therefore, that's it.